You're listening to Season 3 of That's Not How a Baby Sleeps. I'm your host, Alicia Daishon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Eleni Katsinis. We're not your average sleep consultants, no cry it out, or sleep training at all, for that matter.
How are you? I haven't talked in so long.
I know. I'm like, it's been forever. How was Christmas?
It was great. Everything was very great. Well, we got sick before Christmas. So 2 weeks before Christmas, I had the stomach bug. And then the week after, me and Nora got the flu. And then it was Christmas the week after. So we were all healthy by Christmas, but we got all the sicknesses out of the way. And then Christmas time and just like the holiday season and New Year's was a lot of fun. We had so much fun. It was nice. But now she's back at her, forest school, and I'm homeschooling again. Took a nice long break from that because we were sick, and then holidays. So it's nice to like go back into our routine and flow and rhythm. And she actually kind of slid right back into it easily. I thought it was going to be really hard because, I'm sure with you too, very late nights sleeping in. So I'm like, this is going to be really hard to get back on. And it wasn't. She was excited to see her friends again. So that's nice.
That's good. Yeah, Aylin's already been struggling going back. We had a really good Christmas and everything, but she going back to school. Usually Sundays, or she's really off on Sundays, and then going now after 2 weeks off going back, she was like, she called me at it was an hour before school was actually over yesterday. And she goes, it's really funny because when you talk to kids nowadays, they're so used to doing FaceTimes. So she's so awkward on an app. Hilarious. I see that it's the school district calling. So I'm like, hello. She goes, hi. I'm like, hi. She goes, I was like, what's up? She goes, I don't feel good. I was like, okay, what's wrong? She goes, my head hurts. And I was like, okay, well, you only have an hour left. Is it do you want me to come get you? She's like, sure. Okay. So I went and got her and stuff. And I'm like, do you? And she's like, yeah, my head hurt a little bit. I'm like, okay. I'm like, no, you're coming over.
You're a little homesick.
I just miss you.
Aww.
Okay. All right. Well, you're going to school tomorrow.
Yeah. I gotta work.
I have to work. I have to record. So yeah, but Christmas went really smoothly. Everyone came to us as usual.
Oh, nice.
Even my sister with their new baby.
Oh.
My brother-in-law has family on the island, so they had to go do the rounds anyway. So they came for a night and stayed. It was her first night not sleeping at home though. And it's so funny because we set up the pack and play. They actually slept in this room, got her all ready, and she's had a really easy newborn. I think she woke up, I was still up at midnight. She woke up once and I heard her crying. She kind of sounded like a cat. I was like, what's that sound? I'm like, oh,
it's a newborn.
Okay. So they got her back to sleep. And then I guess she woke up a couple more times after that. And this room's right under our bedroom. And they were just so felt so bad the next morning. They're like, how many times did the baby wake you up last night? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, your baby didn't wake us up at all. We don't care. And Jordan was questioning, he's like, no, seriously, man, how many times? Lane's like, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't care about babies waking up.
Yeah.
If our kids accidentally get woken up, they'll just go back to sleep. It's not something to worry about, but just new parents, new sleep environment going, that was so horrible. It's like, she only woke up 3 times. It's actually not that bad.
How old is she? How old's the baby?
She's just almost 4 months.
Oh, wow. That's great for a new place. And then.
Yeah, but I got, it's funny because my sister's, I'm like, I could just send you all my freebies, right? I get an email this morning because I have a confirmation email that goes up when you sign out for one of my freebies. I'm like, it's an automated email that goes up hey, just want to make sure you got it. And I get an email from my sister this morning being like, yeah, I got it at 4 a.m. after her 6th wake up. She's like, this 4-month thing is no joke, hey? I'm like, it's not. And I didn't want to be the person to be like, well, just you wait, because I'm not going to do that to her, but just you wait.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
If this doesn't settle down in a couple weeks, I'm like, it's okay. We'll fix it. Everything's going to be fine.
That's really funny because my sister, I don't know if she listens to the podcast. If she does, I say this with love, but she has an almost 2-year-old and I've been helping her for years now with sleep. And I sent her all my stuff, right? She's my sister. I sent her my guides. I sent her everything. She logs sleep for me. I gave her an assessment, all this stuff. And then the next week I hear her complaining to a friend in front of me, oh, she doesn't sleep. And I'm like, you're making me look bad. I've been helping you for months, her whole life, and you're not listening to my advice, so I can't help you. She wants someone. She's like, can you just come over for a week and stay overnight? I'm like, no, because you need to do it. It's not me.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm supporting you. I don't want you. I'm sleeping at home all night. Exactly. That's funny. But that's a great segue into everything we're talking about today.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, we thought we would talk about normal infant sleep in the first 12 months. As I feel like I'm like, oh, I always get a lot of questions about this, but we do. It's a pretty common thing, especially when you're on social media and you see these babies who are, sleeping through the night with a magical bedtime routine by 6 months. Or I saw a video the other day of a mom being like, I fixed, like, this is how I got my baby to sleep through the night. And I think the baby was like 9 or 10 months old, and they're like, you do a nap at 9:15 and then another one at, like, I think it was like 2:30 or something. And you wake them up, and like, it doesn't matter if like they can't stretch those wake windows, they'll get used to it eventually, kind of thing. And like, this is like, some of the sleep sciencey stuff made sense. Like, she's like, there's only so much that they should sleep, during the day, and like they'll just fall in line with this. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many babies who would totally not fall in line with that. But she was sleeping through the night with that. I was like, that's cool. Like, you figured out something that worked for your child, but it's like not a magical solution.
Was she a mom? Was she just a mom, or was she a sleep consultant, or she
just a mom? And it was funny because she was like thanking some other mom who had said, this is how I got my baby. So it was like two people that it worked for, and she said, this is magic. I'm like,
so no sleep training, or you don't know if they did or not?
Apparently not.
Interesting.
It didn't look like that. So I was like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm sure she might have trialed other things. I don't really know, but I just kind of thought it was funny. I was like, okay. Yeah. Sure. But I think those posts, we know those posts, they stress a lot of moms out.
Yeah.
Make them feel like they're doing something wrong because their baby's not doing that. And while, yeah, there are some that will sleep through the night at 6 months or 9 months or even by 12 months, it is really normal for a lot of them not to. And it really does vary child to child. So I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of go through just the different stages, like the newborn stage, and talk about kind of what is normal. And normal is, there's a wide range of normal, so we can talk about that. Newborn sleep, so kind of that 0 to 3 month point, it's obviously really irregular, really unpredictable. We see a lot of like day and night confusion, which like you can do like little minor tweaks and stuff with that. Like, it is totally fine if you just want to kind of go around in a 24-hour circle and like feed your baby every 3 hours, put them down for a sleep and not get that consolidation. Like, there's nothing wrong with just kind of going with the flow. But if you're like, no, I really want to kind of focus on this initially, you can kind of focus on just a consistent morning wake up time, doing naps in daylight to kind of help their circadian rhythm regulate. Stuff like that can just help a little bit to kind of be like, hey, let's do our longer stretches of sleep overnight as opposed to during the day. Waking them up a little bit from naps, like being like, okay, we're not going to nap for like 4 hours in the middle of the day. Like, even just waking them up for a quick feed, and then if they're still tired because they're newborn and their wake windows are really, really short, putting them back down after that, that's okay. That can kind of set their body clock a little bit, but it is still relatively irregular. Like, I feel like in those first few months, you might be figuring out kind of the sweet spot for wake windows a little bit, but because sleep is so unpredictable, like, we're mainly focusing on like, let's not push it too much where the child actually gets overtired. And then there is that period kind of around that 6-week mark where like crying really does peak, and that's kind of when we see that like witching hour thing. I don't think you didn't have that with Nora, did you?
I don't remember, to be honest. I wish I always say this on every podcast, but I wish I had like a sleep journal that I wrote things down, because I don't fully remember. I do remember around like a 6-week period, she was like awake fully for like a day. Like, I swear she didn't sleep. And if she slept, it was like a minute here and there. It wasn't like naps that she was doing. And I like thought there was something really wrong with her. And I remember calling the doctor or the nurse who I talked to, like, oh, she's just going through like that 6-week period. Like, they're more aware of their surroundings and all that stuff. So now, knowing her temperament now, it makes total sense, because other babies during that time, maybe they would have a witching hour and cry a lot, but like, I understand that witching hours can happen for any babies, but we also never had anything underlying medically going on, and I feel like no gas, no colic, like any of that stuff. I really didn't have that with her. And I hear that from other moms, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that witching hour is a lot worse and harder for families who are having those issues. And I know gassiness is very normal for a lot of babies, but if she had gas, it didn't bother her, that she would cry really bad. Like, I remember my nephew was going through the witching hour phase, and just like, I don't know, like, I didn't really go through that, but I also just like nursed her if she needed it, or like put her in the bath. I know that helped you, or just like kind of went through it, if that makes sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. You're right. Like, if there are any underlying medical stuff, like if we have a baby who's really like colicky, which we know is there's something underlying going on. Yeah. Like, babies aren't just colicky. I mean, yes, there are babies who are fussier if they're a little bit more on the sensitive side, but like screaming in agony for hours on end is not a thing. And of course, during that 6-week period, or during when they're kind of crying is peaking around that time, and they might be going through that witching hour period, of course it's going to be magnified, because you're probably already dealing with a really fussy, uncomfortable, overtired baby. But with babies who there aren't any underlying medical stuff, like we experienced that with Luna, and it was literally a week. She would not sleep between like 4:30 and 11 o'clock. Like, would not go to sleep. I would like go in the car. She might doze a little bit, but she would fight it like crazy. And I, of course, even her being my second, I was like, there's something underlying medical going on. Like, this is crazy. But then she was totally fine during the day and would sleep okay and stuff overnight like anymore. So I was still like racking my brain and trying to figure it out. But then it was just over like a week later. And sometimes we don't really have like a correct answer as to why it happens, but a lot of people kind of speculate that it's just that overstimulation, like that stimulus barrier is kind of starting to go down a little bit more around that time. They're more aware of their environment and they get a little bit overstimulated, and then they really struggle to kind of settle during that period, and then they get overtired on top of that, and then there's just lots and lots of crying and horribleness. But yeah, the bath was like a big thing. I would just like lay there with her on my chest in the bath for hours until it was like tepid and cold and I needed to get out there. Funny. And then she'd start all over again and cry. And I'd cry too because it was really quite awful. I'd be like, okay, we're going to go in the car and get you to sleep. And I'd stop the car. I'd go in the house and she'd wake up again. I'm like, this is so horrible.
It's like vigorous rocking. Yeah. Which, that's her sensory input that she needs too. And doesn't something happen with your breast milk during that time too?
Yeah, your breast milk also like dips at around that like 6 p.m. mark. So you throw that on top of there as well. Yeah. It's just a recipe for a disaster at that point in time. So yeah, like it is really normal to see it happen around that time. But if your newborn has been colicky, fussy, really struggling that entire period, then I'm like, there's an underlying medical issue. We want to get to the bottom of that. A lot of the time it could be like reflux, sensitivities to like your breast milk, even allergies, things like that. Obviously oral ties, we've talked about that. So making sure that we get to the root cause of why that's happening, because yes, like the newborn stage is hard, but you shouldn't be feeling like you're completely drowning at that point in time. Yeah. If your baby's waking up every hour all night long, super fussy, we want to get to the bottom of why that's actually happening. But once you kind of move into that, I feel like a lot of parents come to us around that time. I've been getting actually a lot of clarity calls from like the newborn stage, and it's like, I just want a little bit more consistency. I'm like, I can do that. We can work with that. And not to be the just do wait person, but you do get to that 4-month mark where everything's going to shift regardless. So if you can kind of handle those first few months on your own, get into a little bit of a rhythm with like wake windows and kind of figure out what works for you and figure out like that daytime sleep, nighttime sleep swap, I would hold off until doing really anything until after you're through that 4-month progression, as we like to call it. Because sleep does permanently change around that point in time. You might have a newborn who slept really great, like my lovely sister, where she would wake up 2 times a night and feed and go back to sleep. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Or you have one like both of mine never did the long newborn stretches. I know Nora did though, right? She gave you nice, beautiful.
She did. Around like 8 weeks, she slept a long stretch. I remember going to like Dave's family's house talking about it. Like, oh my gosh, she slept like 7 hours, like overnight, like a while. And it's not like I did anything special. And then after 4 months, no, she never did that ever again for a very long time. But I think that's also just to remember too, like I also talk to a lot of newborn families, and like a 6-week-old, they're waking every 2 hours to feed. I'm so tired. I'm like, I know, but it's normal. Like it really is so normal. And that's why I always encourage families to like co-sleep if they're comfortable with it, or set up for safe co-sleeping, or the sidecar bassinet. I know that you love that too, or sidecar crib, because we do so much education around normal infant sleep, especially the normal newborn period. Of course, we're here to help support you and like talk to you and let you like, vent and complain about it, but it's so normal for them to be waking that frequently. And that's why it's great for them to be right next to you. Like they should be next to you so you can quickly nurse. If you're not nursing, at least they're still right by you, and like make sure that you're room sharing at least for 6 months. Cause I hear a lot of families that start putting their baby in their own room at like 4 months, 3 months. I'm sure you hear the same thing. I just like sometimes bite my tongue, but sometimes I'm like, nope, I have to tell them that they should at least room share for 6 months. It's so important for that regulation with us and our babies to be that close to them, because frequent waking is very normal. But like you said, if it's very consistent and it's like unbearable for you, then there's something going on. And I'm pretty sure we have a whole episode about hourly wakes, right? And red flags. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I can tag that one in the show notes, because it is a good one for if you are struggling.
Yeah.
With that type of stuff, it is a lot of the time medical related. And I agree with you. Like, depending on where you're located, the room sharing is recommended anywhere from 6 to 12 months, especially in those newborn stages. It is protective against SIDS. Like, the frequent waking is normal. I'm not saying that, like, if your baby's sleeping 8 hours long, then you should be going and waking them up. You know, it could help with milk supply if we are seeing that, those really long stretches of sleep. Initially, your breast milk supply is hormone driven, so you won't see a dip at that point in time, but after a certain point it does become like, what is the word, oh my gosh, supply on demand. Like, if your baby is not nursing as much and going these really long stretches, then we can see dips in your breast milk supply. So it is important, like, maybe if your baby is sleeping 8 hours in the newborn stage, having a pump somewhere in between to just make sure that we are regulating everything, and you're not going to have any issues with that long term. But
yeah, that's a good thing to mention, because I feel like a lot of families we talk to too, their breastfeeding relationship totally like was not what they wanted, or it was a negative thing because they stopped nursing like so often, because they were told they didn't have to feed, you know, every 3 hours, or they can go longer stretches, or their 6-month-old didn't need an overnight feed. You know, they're being told these things, and it's really ruining the breastfeeding relationship, because like you said, that supply and demand is not meeting your child's needs. I mean, you're supposed to be feeding, your breast is filling up so full every 3 hours for a reason. So I feel like just leaning into that, literally biology, that we're making this for our babies to feed, and then just that instinctual to thing that, like, just, you know, feed your baby, respond to your baby, they're right there, it's all for a reason. I feel like I've been talking to a lot of moms lately about that stuff, like just feeling like really tired and worn down, and like, why is this happening, and like everything they're saying is so normal and like trying just to validate that.
Yeah, it's normal. It still sucks.
Yes.
But it is normal. And I think sometimes even just hearing that it is normal, but also we can all agree that it's not fun to wake up every 2 to 3 hours all night long.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I can't remember who I was talking to. Somebody, it was a new mom who's being like, oh my gosh, like, it was so great. Like, I got like a 2 hour stretch of sleep and I felt so good. And I'm like, it's so funny how that, and I felt the same way, especially with Aylin and stuff, because she never did that much in the beginning. She was excessively overtired and I didn't know what I was doing. But when I remember getting a 2 hour stretch of sleep, and I think it was just because Lane took her and I like slept for 2 hours, I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. Like, I feel like I've slept for like 6-7 hours. He's like, it's been 2 hours. I'm like,
and that's so funny.
So funny. But another thing I want to mention too is like the cluster feeding in the early stages. My sister, she's formula feeding, and she didn't think that was still going to be a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And she actually contacted the nurse line. She's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, she's feeding so much. They're like, hun, she's cluster feeding. She's like, I thought that was just a breastfeeding baby. And I'm like, no, she's tanking up.
Yeah.
Like, still really, really normal. So I was like, just be happy that your nipples are fine, because it's not fun for us breastfeeding moms. But that's also really normal. And then like aiming in that newborn stage, not even the newborn stage, but before we even start solids around 6 months, is like, you're still looking at 10 to 12 feeds over a 24-hour period. And if we have a baby that's doing really long stretches overnight, super great. But we need to make sure that we're getting those daytime calories in, and we're feeding a lot during the day. And some people be like, I'm going to feed so much during the day so they do longer stretches at night. And like, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of things to consider from like a feeding perspective. I know a lot of people do that, like eat, awake, sleep routine, which might work okay in the newborn stages because the wake windows are so short. But as those wake windows extend, we've seen dips in mom's supply because they're pushing these feeds out so much during the day, and then their baby's waking up a whole bunch at night. They're like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, it's because you're feeding every like 4 hours during the day for a newborn. Like, they're not getting enough of that over a 24-hour period, and we see dips in supply and stuff with that. So not something we recommend. And obviously the whole point of that routine is to avoid nursing to sleep or feeding to sleep, and we don't listen to that. So,
yeah, totally.
Obviously we're not going to recommend that, but it's something that we've seen, and it's a common thing that a lot of new moms are told. So.
Yeah, nursing to sleep is a great tool to have, because you're making sure your baby's getting that full feed right before they fall asleep anyways, and it's so great. I was just talking to a family about that, because I was trying to debunk every single myth they heard. That's what we talked about for so long. She's like, I could nurse to sleep? I'm like, of course you can. She's like, but then he's always going to need that. I'm like, no, he won't. It's okay. Like all these things that we're hearing, it's such like everything's so bad and so negative. Like, if we didn't have all these things in the back of our mind that like waking was bad, night waking was bad, this everything's bad, then we would not feel the way that we feel every night with our newborn babies or our young babies. Like we would feed all night long and sleep next to them and just probably not even look at our phone, right? I'm sure all of us are looking at our phones every single time we wake up and be like, oh my gosh, this is already the 5th time or what time it is. Like we recommend don't doing that. Don't even touch your phone. Like some families I tell them like cover your clock. Like don't even look at the time.
I don't have a clock in my room. People still have clocks in their room.
I mean, I don't either, but I don't know if you have a clock in your room, but it's just like that blue light's going to affect your sleep too. Like we want to make sure to protect mom's sleep as best as we can. That's why we recommend sleeping so close because yes, of course we can help as sleep coaches to help you get those longer stretches, but just understanding that this is so normal at that young age, especially under a year old, like we're talking about. So try to protect your sleep the best you can. And all the things that we teach is how we can protect our sleep and get better sleep. Like I know we work with clients before that we couldn't even get longer stretches with some clients, or like maybe there was medical things going on that we couldn't help with that. But the families we work with were like, I just feel so much better. I'm not even sleeping more, but I feel better because of everything I learned from you. So I'm just happier. Like, even though I'm still sleeping the same amount I slept, but like now I'm co-sleeping and I feel better. Or, you know, we have a floor bed, like all these different things that we can help with. I feel like a lot of people think that when they talk to us or work with us, we're going to get them like a 12-hour overnight stretch. And that's just not realistic. I mean, when do you see that? Not typically under a year old.
It's not a thing. It's like in my clarity calls when I'm talking to potential clients, I'm like, the goal is not 12 hours overnight. I mean, it might be a long-term goal, but I was like, I don't make promises around babies sleeping 12 hours straight in 2 weeks. If somebody is promising you that, especially in general, it's sleep training.
Yeah.
Like we can't control your baby's biological needs at night. If they're waking up hungry, all of that kind of stuff, they have attachment needs. I can't change those needs. I mean, we might be able to focus on some daytime nutrition to reduce the wake ups, but making promises around a baby sleeping or even a toddler sleeping 12 hours straight in 2 weeks, that we're using some type of behavioral modification at that point in time.
Yeah.
So in most cases anyways, but I do agree. It's so funny when you see those like goals shift with families that we work with, just by normalizing what infant sleep looks like, making adjustments to sleeping arrangements, things like that. Like the sidecar crib, like I don't think I ever got out of bed when Luna would wake up at night. I had like a changing pad that was down the side of the bed. I pulled that up on the bed, changed her, put her back in her sidecar crib. And if I needed to nurse her, I just kind of shoved my body halfway into the sidecar crib. I do have a free sidecar guide. I'll take that in the show notes below because it is really handy if you're in that stage and you're wanting to do something like that, because I love my sidecar grips. But it's really funny how those goals do shift and stuff depending on what's going on with, you know, those sleeping arrangements and stuff. Like it makes such a huge difference in just normalizing what infant sleep looks like in that first 12 months and beyond. And we are going to do a toddler episode next week as well, so we'll talk about normal toddler sleep too. It was funny last night, or maybe it wasn't last night, it was 2 nights ago. Aylin, again, my 7-year-old, was like, I want to do a big girl sleep. I'm like, okay, sure. You see that, you know, once every 6 months, and then you don't want to, which is fine. I was like, yeah, sure. So she got her Yodo player on, and I just sat on the couch, waited for her to come out. She eventually came out, and she goes, Mommy, and she was listening to a Magic School Bus one, you know, Magic School Bus. Miss, I think her name's Miss Rizzo or Miss whatever.
Yeah.
She's, her voice sounds kind of like a witch. It's scaring me. Sure. And then she was kind of like down about it yesterday. She's like, yeah, I tried to do a big girl sleep, but I was just too scared. And I just like, me and Lane looked at her. Lane's like, I will lay with you as long as you want. I was like, Aylin, I will lay with you while you fall asleep until your husband tells you that this is weird and your mom needs to go away. And she's like, what? I was like, I'm joking.
You're gonna crawl into her window like in Love You Forever book, you know, the Love You.
Oh my gosh, it's so creepy.
I know, but it's cute. It's like that's one of the best books.
The moral of that story is adorable, but the woman
I know. It's so funny.
But that's me. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny. But yeah, so kind of after that 4-month mark, this is when I'm like, okay, we see what sleep cycles start to actually look like. And they usually shorten up. They become more adult-like, which is annoying. During the day, we see lots of like short naps, 30, 45 minutes. We're waking up after. And, you know, sometimes they're able to be resettled. Sometimes they're not. And then a lot of the time, those short naps kind of play into that overtiredness before bedtime, and we get more wake ups at night because those sleep cycles change as well. So a lot of the time during that transitional period, we see like a messy 2-ish. Sometimes parents are lucky and it's like a 2-ish, 3-ish, 4-ish weeks. Like there's a really yucky transitional period where your child's waking up, especially if we haven't kind of focused on wake windows at all and we've just been kind of going with the flow. And it can be a really big slap in the face when you had a newborn that's up to 7-8 hour stretches, and now it's like, oh, they're waking up every couple of hours. I find that with the parents who their baby was waking up every like 2 to 3 hours overnight, the wake ups get more frequent, so that's really difficult. I mean, they get more frequent in both situations, but I feel like it's almost worse for the parents who had nice long newborn stretches because it's more of a slap in the face. With the other parents are like, oh, okay, just a little bit more frequent at this point in time, but that does kind of settle down. It doesn't usually go back to the way that it was before that. We kind of start to see a period where it's like, okay, this is what sleep actually looks like. And now we can kind of focus on figuring out unique sleep needs, ideal wake windows, ideal nap totals to kind of help a little bit with more consolidation. However, short naps, honestly, between 4 to 6 months, sometimes in the newborn stage, depending on whether or not your child took longer naps, are really, really normal. I don't see a ton of consolidation prior to that 6-month mark, sometimes a little bit longer. Most of the time I'll see like that morning nap consolidate up a little bit, then you might have short naps for the rest of the day, but that's all really, really normal. Sometimes we can adjust that by tweaking wake windows and getting a little bit more consolidation. But if your baby's only taking 20-minute naps, I'm like, okay, something again is off with those wake windows. We'd at least like to see a full sleep cycle, get a 45-minute nap in, even if that's not ideal for you, it is still really, really normal at that point in time. And if you're kind of past that 6-month mark and naps haven't consolidated again, tweaking wake windows and figuring out what works best for your child. Little tweaks like 15-minute increments. I always call it like my 15-minute rule when I'm working with clients, but like a 15-minute shift in a wake window like can make a huge difference between a nap consolidating and a short nap. Some parents are like, I've tried all the wake windows. I tried a 3-hour wake window. I tried a 4-hour wake window. I'm like, have you tried 3.25, 3.5, 3.75? Like, I'm like, let's figure out what the exact sweet spot is to kind of consolidate naps. And then once naps start to consolidate, you'll usually start to see those wake windows kind of extend as the day goes on. Shortest wake window in the morning, usually longer before bed to build up a little bit more sleep pressure. But again, during that whole time, wake ups are still really normal. Starting solids is also a huge disruption around 6 months. Everyone probably in the newborn stage is like, feed your baby solids and they'll sleep better. And that is a lie.
Yeah.
It's actually, I'm very much like, do not start solids before 6 months. I know there's still some like pediatricians who recommend it or like, yeah, well, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm like, they don't need anything else prior to that. And when you start to introduce solids, that's going to start taking away from your milk feeds during the day. And then they are going to wake up more at night because milk is that main source of nutrition. I do agree with, like, I know a lot of people take solids really slow, which yes, I agree with, but iron is a huge focus from that 6-month mark because the iron stores that they got from mom in utero diminish at that point in time. And that's where we start to see lots of sleep disruption. So starting solids at 6 months, but still kind of waiting. Still focusing on iron from that point on. Really important.
I think too, really quick to mention about salads. If you are going to start salads, I know you recommend this too, trying to do it at the beginning of the day. Like you don't do it right before bedtime. Like it could disrupt naps, I guess, or just try to, really, like you said, you don't need your child to have a full salad meal. Like the first year after 6 months, 6 to 12 months, it's really just about experimenting and playing with food and like have them have different textures. I think baby led weaning is great if you're like following someone along or like learning about it. But like I wouldn't stress over if your child's not getting 3 salad meals at 7 months old or having snacks, like you'll really start to see that after the 12-month mark. Of course, introduce them to stuff. And like you said, nursing or formula is going to be your main source of nutrition. But I think that's just something to take in consideration because I don't want families to be all stressed because they're not having salads or having like a huge out salad intake. Because I know people get really excited about it too. It's like something new and exciting to do with your baby. And of course, like we want them to like fully be able to sit up very nicely on their own in the high chair. If you have your baby like slouching, do not feed them yet. Like make sure they have a strong core and you're developing that. And even if they are, there might be something else underlying going on that you might not need to get a feeding evaluation done or all that different stuff. So there's always, listen to your mom gut because it's there for a reason.
Totally. And we see lots of disruptions with solids, as I mentioned, like more frequent wake ups. It is a huge change in digestion, which I agree, like having those solids a little bit earlier in the day can help with that. You don't need a ton of protein with dinner because again, protein's a little bit harder to kind of digest. So I usually recommend avoiding that with dinner. Like if you're starting to introduce dinner, I honestly don't really recommend doing like the 3 solids until like 9-ish months is when I'm like, okay, we can introduce, a little bit more solids, but we're still offering milk prior to solids because we don't want, I have babies who are like, oh my gosh, I love food. And they eat so many solids during the day. And then they're waking up at night because they're not getting enough milk. Like they're kind of turned off milk. So they wake up all night. And then we kind of see that like reverse cycling and stuff happening. So yeah. But speaking of that 6-month mark and honestly 6, 9, 12 months, a lot of people will tell you there's a sleep regression around that time. It just correlates with a developmental progression, which is actually what's happening. Your child is developing. They could be rolling, sitting, crawling, standing, maybe starting to try even walking when you're closer to that 12-month mark. I have had a few 9-month-olds walk, which I'm like, oh my gosh, it must be so funny to see a 9-month-old walking.
Because they're so little. That was my one sister, because she was small, like the smallest out of all of us, and she started walking around 9 months. So she was just like this little peanut walking. It's just so funny to see that.
That's so cute. But yeah, anything like that is going to disrupt sleep. And whenever our children are working on more independent skills, that usually comes with a bout of separation anxiety, just from an attachment aspect. It's like, I'm learning this new skill, but I'm also going to cling on to you for dear life because I'm not meant to be independent yet, but I'm still kind of learning these new skills. We see spikes in separation anxiety around that time and stuff too. And that's usually that 6, 9, 12-ish month range. Throw some teething in the mix, and that just messes with your sleep during that first 12-month period as well. Language, you start to see a little bit of that. So all of those things are going to cause hiccups in your sleep. But one of the reasons I like to figure out after kind of that 5, 6 month mark is your child's unique sleep needs and figure out kind of what works best for them, is that when they're not going through a progression or going through a bout of teething, that, sleep is relatively normalized. You kind of know what it looks like when things are good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a couple wake ups. Maybe that's still, 3 wake ups. It's all really normal. We see a lot of posts about night weaning under 12 months, and I don't touch nighttime feeds under 12 months. It is completely normal for a baby to still be waking up. It doesn't matter what age they are, what weight they are. We still see toddlers that wake up overnight, still needing a feed. I always tell parents that like the natural night weaning's age is 18 months, which they're like, what? Because everyone's like, I've seen people promote weaning 4-month-olds, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, because you can sleep train at 4 months old. You can expect a 4-month-old to sleep all night long without you, and that's without a feed. And that's so biologically not normal. Like, they need those feeds, especially breast milk, because it doesn't fill their tummies as much as it really should be, like we think it is. So it's like we have to think about it in that like biological standpoint, is like they should be feeding frequently, especially like when you hit 9, 10, 11, 12 months, you're like, oh, they should be sleeping all night. Like, no, they really shouldn't be. Of course, it's tiring, and like we talk to a lot of parents and they're tired, but there's a lot of things we can do. And I know you hear this too. I feel like we talk to a lot of moms after that period, and they've been struggling for like a full 9 to 10 months, and they're like, their whole life has always been one big regression. So we don't know what it normal looks like for us. And I know, like, you probably can agree with this. I usually see something underlying going on during that time. Like, we find something else going on, or it's just like they really didn't nail down their unique sleep needs. They're letting them nap for too long, or maybe they're just excessively overtired, or they're just like trying things that just aren't working for their unique baby. Do you agree? You see that with your clients
100%.
too? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the tricky thing, is like when you're getting so much information offline, you haven't nailed down those sleep needs. Everyone's sitting there telling you that it's because you nurse to sleep or you rock to sleep, and they haven't been able to self-soothe. And then you throw some teething development, all of that kind of stuff on top, starting solids, all of those things that make sleep yucky, just layers on top of each other, and you can't tell what's what. So that's why I do think it is important to kind of figure it out. I mean, if your child's sleeping fine overnight, like you're just going with the flow with like schedules, routines and stuff, keep doing that. That's working for your child, but it doesn't work for a lot of children. So nailing those down can really, really help. Anything else that we wanted to talk about? We'll talk about attachment and just the role of that, because I think that's also a key thing, and just how from an attachment aspect, babies connect and attach to the senses in the first year. So if they can't see you, hear you, smell you, touch you, know that you're there, they are going to signal to make sure that you're still there. And that can be really difficult for like independent sleep in that first year. I know a lot of people are like, I really want my baby to sleep in a crib. And I'm like, that would be really nice, wouldn't it? But it might not always be realistic depending on your baby's temperament. And it is hard to kind of bridge that separation that they're feeling. Like the crib, even if it's in the same room as you, is still separation, especially to a highly sensitive baby. And we're kind of limited on the ways that we can bridge that separation from a safety standpoint. Like we can really only use scent when they're independent. So like putting, spilling some breast milk on the sheets, making the sheets smell like you, warming the sleep space. That's one my sister's been doing, is she has like a little warmer that she puts in the bed. She's like, this is amazing because for transfers that helps. It makes her feel like she's up against a nice warm body. So things like that can kind of help with bridging the separation a little bit. Lots and lots of contact during the day. We see lots of like parents who contact nap and they're like, my baby sleeps independently at night, but they only contact nap during the day. I'm like, they're balancing out that separation. It's actually a really normal thing to see. Again, benefit of contact napping during the day can help with more independent sleep overnight. And everyone, of course, will tell you that's a bad habit. You should do it. Yeah. From an attachment aspect, I think it's really, really beneficial. Like, who doesn't love a contact nap?
Exactly.
I love being trapped and not doing anything.
I know, especially if you can do it. Like we always recommend that. And those contact naps to lengthen those short naps can really help them. If you can baby wear, if you can do, a stroller or whatever, like motion naps, those are like, a nap is a nap. Like, don't think it's not restorative. Like even if it's a 20-minute nap versus, of course, 2-hour naps are lovely, but your baby is unique. Like every single baby is different. Even if your friend's baby is the same exact age and they're getting 2.5-hour naps, which is crazy to me because like my daughter's never done that either. And I always compare her to other babies, but just remember that your baby's so different. And just that too, with the crib transfers or independent sleep, that takes time and it takes consistency of like making sure that they feel safe in their sleep space without you, because we hear all the time, like I transfer them and they wake up right away. I'm like, of course they will, because you're not on them anymore and they don't feel your touch and they don't hear your heartbeat and they don't feel your warmth. Like you're actually helping regulate their breathing and their temper and their heartbeat. Like there's a reason that we're there to help regulate them, and just building that up the best you can throughout the day. Like a lot of families even too co-sleep throughout the night and then their babies nap okay the next day, just like the contact nap. So I feel like you have to just understand that's so normal, and we know that a deep dependence will create that independence, like when ready to do so. And that's different for every single child. Like we still lay with our daughters because we love to, and like we are trying, and we're not pushing Nora, but we're just like, are you ready to like try to sleep on your own? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay. Like I know if I push her, it's going to make it worse. Like if I forced it, like she's very sensitive, and like you're going to learn your baby's temperament too. Like I feel like as they get older into a year or even after a year, you're like, okay, I can tell my child's sensitive, or I can tell they're intense. So like whatever their temperament is, and really tune into that, because just because we're saying we lay with our daughters doesn't mean you have to do that forever, because we know that they're older. It's not as hard as it was back then. We're not waking up with them all night long because they're older children and they're sleeping longer periods, but we built that safety and security when they're little, and then those longer stretches kept coming because we consistently responded to them, we consistently showed up for them, and now they feel safe enough to sleep throughout the night on their own because we showed them that. I'm like, Nora still comes into our bed if she has a nightmare, because I will never tell her she can't come in our bed. Like she knows that she's safe and she'll come to us, and that's what we created. And that's what you're doing right now with your children. You're creating that love and security around sleep. And I feel like this really is like lasting healthy sleep habits, like into adulthood. Like I swear, I talked to some adults and I swear, like if they have unhealthy sleep patterns, and I don't know if this is true or not, there's something going on with sleep when they're little. Like there has to be, because where did all that come from? Like it had to have come from something. Like even adults have anxiety around sleep. They don't want to be alone. Like they want to sleep next to their partner. Like that's a grown adult with a grown mature brain, and like babies don't have that mature brain and they need that co-regulation from us. Sorry, I went on a tangent, but you get what I'm saying.
It's funny because I shared it on my story the other day about a mom being like, I don't understand why all of these parents are like expecting a 6-month-old.
Oh yeah, I saw her.
It was a great post, and it was so funny because I immediately went to the comments, and your wonderful husband was right in there commenting away.
Mine?
Yeah.
He never told me.
He was like, yeah, Jane.
Oh my gosh, what did he say? Do you remember?
I don't know, but he was just going on and on about attachment and like just it was just hilarious because I was like, yep. I was like, I know that username. Oh, it's Dave.
He loves getting in those comments. That is so funny.
It was adorable. I was like, this is so cute. And I shared the video. But yeah, I'm like, it's so funny because it's so true.
Yeah.
Like we're expecting these 6-month-olds to sleep independently, fall asleep independently, regulate themselves. And it's just wild.
Yeah.
But like it's been normalized for so long that people are like, oh yeah, no, that's totally fine. I'm like, no, think about it. It's crazy.
I know. I feel like if you're questioning anything, or you think something's not normal or is normal or whatever, just like ask us. Like there is no dumb questions ever. Like we are asked these questions all the time, and we want to help normalize what's going on in your life. Or if it's not normal, like we can tell just from a DM, like if whatever you're going through is normal or not normal. And like just knowing that there's nothing wrong with your baby. Like if they're waking up for you, like there's nothing wrong wrong with you, especially as a mom. We feel like we're failing because our baby's waking. Like we think that our worth as a mom is from our baby's sleep. And that's just unfortunately how society molded us. It's not your fault. Like this is I actually wanted to bring up this book. I don't know if you saw it. You know the new book that came out, Rest Assured, by Mother Nourish Nurture. She's Louise Herbert.
No, I haven't.
I obviously wish I had. It's called Rest Assured, so I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes, because this is a book that she's a baby sleep specialist just like we are. This book every single mom should have, and I wish we had it as new moms, because it's everything that we're talking about right now. It's just like normalizing infant sleep and everything that we're going through. It's so normal. It's like this is the book that we should have. We shouldn't have a sleep training book for a 12-week-old. It's just like so sad that this is going to push at us. I guess I was saying like our society is molding us to like have these really high expectations for our young babies at such a young age. Like they should be doing this or should be doing that. If they're not doing that, they're never going to do it. Like it's just so many absolutes, and it's really scary as a new mom. So that's why we always encourage moms, like, if you didn't hear any of that advice, like what would you be doing instead, right? Like how would you be mothering and parenting? You'd probably lead more into your instincts than you are right now, because everything you're being told is not true.
And it's making you anxious and stressed out, and your baby's co-regulating with you.
And they're feeling it.
All of that while you're stressed out. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And if you are really struggling, like you have options. This is not like, yes, we've told you what normal infant sleep looks like, but it's not like a cry it out, wait it out situation where you do nothing. Like as we mentioned, focusing on those unique sleep needs, figuring that all out while keeping in the back of your mind that, okay, like a lot of this is really normal. I shouldn't be stressed out about it. I just had a clarity call with a mom who, I think her baby's a little bit older, like 14 months or so. And she's like, she's like bed sharing. The child has a floor bed. And then they have like a family floor bed. And she's like, I just want to like make sure. And I always say, I'm like, you could literally do nothing and eventually you would sleep through the night. Like you wanting to make a little bit of change and get a little bit more sleep, that's also totally okay. But like, you're not doing anything wrong. It's like you're meeting all of those attachment needs. You're doing all of the things that you should be doing. And eventually, yes, you could do nothing. But if you're wanting to, maybe have another baby in the next little while here, and you are thinking like, I can't be waking up this much a night, then that's totally fine to kind of make a change around that. And that's what we're here for. We can help.
Exactly.
I actually just launched, I haven't even talked about it on my social media yet, but I launched another sleep package option where I just do a full assessment for your family. So you fill out the intake form, you log sleep for a couple weeks, log nutrition, you send me all of that information, and you get access to my Sleep Through Connection course, and I email out your sleep assessment. It doesn't include any follow-up support, but you can just add that on as needed, because I think that's a really good option for parents. So like, you know what, I have the whole sleep assessment, I can kind of do it myself a little bit. Maybe I need a little bit more support, but I thought that was a really good thing to kind of launch this in the new year and stuff, because parents want options with that. And obviously sometimes they don't need a big 6-week extensive package where I hold your hand the whole way, and we can kind of take that assessment, look at it, and then kind of follow your instincts with the rest of it and stuff. So I thought that was a really cool addition to kind of some of the offerings that I have going on.
It's a great idea, because a lot of people are so busy. They don't have time for that call, or sicknesses come up and development comes up in teething. We know that we have paused support so many times with families. So it's really nice to have that. And sometimes if they just look at the assessment, they feel so much better. So they might not need that call. Of course, it's there for them if they need it. But like, especially because some people just like to talk to us face to face and like feel better about things.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to connect with us beyond the podcast. You can find me on all social media platforms at moonbay.sleep. And for more sleepy goodness, you can head over to Instagram and follow Eleni at Rooted in Sleep. Until next week, keep embracing the chaos.